They say that making a good first impression is the most important thing. It must be admitted that Polish President Karol Nawrocki more than fulfilled this task. And although he had met Donald Trump during his election campaign, this was his first meeting with him as president. At Friday's press conference, Donald Trump, speaking about next year's G20 meeting in Miami, referred to Karol Nawrocki's visit to the White House without being asked. The U.S. leader made no secret of his fondness for the Polish president.
We're going to invite Poland. Already I've issued them an invitation. They're great. They were just here, as you know. Great leader, great new leader. One of the big surprises, I was so happy I endorsed him, actually, and he won. And he's going to be a great leader of Poland, but I've invited Poland already.
In addition to inviting Poland to the G20 summit, President Trump's declaration to keep American troops in Poland and perhaps even increase the U.S. Army's presence in our country is an undeniable success.
We're very happy. If anything, we'll put more there if they want.
The visit itself in such a short time and the invitation of the Polish president to Washington show that for the United States, we are a key partner on NATO's eastern flank and in the entire European Union. How is the Polish Ministry of Foreign Affairs reacting to these successes? In its characteristic way, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs is upset that Polish President Nawrocki did not take anyone from the ministry's leadership with him to the White House, and Radosław Sikorski, in order to prove himself, is trying to show that he is also important in America. That is why he posted a video from the garden in front of the White House. My fellow patriots from Law and Justice boast that they blocked the government's entry into the White House. Best regards. There are more similar recordings. President Nawrocki responded to Radosław Sikorski's provocations, showing the minister his place in a few words. Dear Minister Radosław Sikorski, I am already in Poland. Today is National Reading Day. I am unable to address your Washington album in any other form, but I appeal for seriousness. Our relations with the U.S. are truly a matter of fundamental importance for Poland. Foreign Minister, taking selfies in front of our partners' administration buildings is not the right way to go. Please forget about your emotions, our internal politics, and your album from the trip for a moment. Please adjust your armor and represent Poland, a serious partner of the U.S., with dignity. This is not a matter of your good, albeit disturbing, well-being. These are matters of state. I believe that as soon as I find the time and you cool down a bit, we will meet for a serious conversation about the disturbing state of Polish diplomacy, also in the U.S., where we have not had an ambassador for a long time. See you soon. The antics of Minister Radosław Sikorski and his successive tweets, I wrote one tweet, are not of interest to me. The president of Poland has many issues, many matters to deal with. I was just at the national reading. The time will come when I will invite the minister and we will talk about serious matters. Radosław Sikorski's unique diplomatic activities have been appreciated by internet users, who already imagine him in other places around the world.
Pozdrawiam. 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 Pozdrawiam.
Let us recall that Poland has not had an ambassador to the United States for over a year because Bogdan Klich, whom Donald Tusk nominated for the role, was unacceptable first to President Duda and now to President Nawrocki. Klich has insulted President Trump in the past. Let us remember that according to Law and Justice, friendship with this unstable politician who does not respect democracy was supposed to be a guarantee of Poland's security. Unfortunately, it is futile to look for the will of the head of diplomacy to abandon the dispute between the government and the president, and Poland is clearly losing out on the international stage as a result. It is time for the head of the Polish Ministry of Foreign Affairs to understand that there is a politician in the presidential palace who was elected by over 10.5 million citizens, who is fulfilling his election commitments, and with whom he should cooperate for the good of the country. President Nawrocki is not resting on his laurels and is taking action. Straight from the United States, he traveled to Rome, where he met with Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni, Pope Leo XIV, and President Sergio Mattarella. For me, all these meetings were also an excellent opportunity to convey the outcome of my talks with the President of the United States, President Trump, to the President of Italy, the Prime Minister of Italy, the Pope, and the Cardinal Secretary. Many topics were discussed during these meetings. The most important issues were security, illegal migration, and the attempt to block the agreement with the Mercosur countries.
Jest tam sporo rozbieżności.
There are quite a few differences, but there is definitely a good atmosphere, and there is certainly full agreement on values. And Washington connects them too. It connects them, yes, that's right. It is said that Prime Minister Meloni is well received across the ocean, and Karol Nawrocki is also well received as president. Now President Karol Nawrocki has more visits ahead of him. In the near future, he will visit Lithuania, Finland, Germany, and France. This tour is building him up incredibly in Europe and on the international stage. Heads of state and government clearly see the change that is taking place, that has taken place in Polish politics, that President Karol Nawrocki is becoming the #1 figure in foreign policy when it comes to Poland, rather than Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk, who is increasingly being pushed aside, especially in the United States. Karol Nawrocki's first month as head of state clearly indicates that this will be an exceptionally active presidency. Poles appreciate the new president's commitment. According to a SW research poll for Onet, almost 43% of respondents have a positive opinion of the head of state's first month. As it turns out, the key to pursuing a popular policy is to implement a program, which in this case can be summarized by the presidential motto, Poland first, Poles first. While the eyes of Poles were focused on Washington, and most commentators were following Polish President Karol Nawrocki's first foreign visit to the White House, on the other side of the world, the dragon, awakening from its slumber, let out an ominous growl. The largest demonstration of Chinese military power in decades stunned the world. And it wasn't just about the scale or even the weapons Beijing presented. It was about the very telling outline of a new alliance evoking the darkest pages of the last century's history. Looks like we've lost India and Russia to deepest, darkest China. May they have a long and prosperous future together.
Sign this.
This sarcastic social media post by the American president captures the essence of the complicated situation in which not only the United States, but also the free Western world finds itself. Analysts have no doubt that the strengthening of cooperation, mainly between Beijing and Moscow, is a prelude of a geopolitical earthquake.
Russia, China, and North Korea are under pressure by the United States. All three are under the U.S. sanctions, various kinds, whether it's export controls or comprehensive sanctions with regard to Russia and North Korea. And all three have the reasons to believe that the U.S. is an adversary. So when the three are meeting, it's natural to believe that they all talk about how to push back against the U.S.
The Americans are well aware of this, hence the ongoing review of their defense spending around the world, hence the revolutionary changes in defense doctrine. The symbol that best reflects what is happening behind the scenes in the U.S. administration today is the renaming of the Department of Defense to the Department of War.
I think it's a much more appropriate name, especially in light of where the world is right now. We have the strongest military in the world. We have the greatest equipment in the world. We have the greatest manufacturers of equipment by far. There's nobody to even compete.
This is, of course, the only possible response from the American president that the world can hear. But both the White House and the Pentagon know that the gauntlet has been thrown down. That is why the Americans are working on a strategy in which Poland may become one of the key elements. The idea is to use NATO's eastern flank as a counterweight to the influence, not so much of Russia as of China itself. In the face of a new dangerous phase of Russia's war in Ukraine and the strengthening of China's strategic alliance with Moscow, the United States should seek to maintain the credibility of its deterrence doctrine. The threats in Europe and Asia are inextricably linked. If Moscow succeeds in Ukraine, Beijing will see it as a green light to escalate in the Indo-Pacific region. Containing Russia and Europe is therefore crucial for global deterrence against China. Looking at the American approach to Ukraine, it seems that in the face of the failure of efforts to bring about peace and draw Moscow away from Beijing, the White House may realistically commit to supporting Kyiv.
Well, we'll work that out. We'll help them. Look, we want to save a lot of lives, so we'll do something with that. I think people expect that. We'll help them. Europe will be first in by far, and they want to be first, and they want to see it end.
Poland can use this in two ways. One is to offer to build permanent American bases in Poland in exchange for a possible reduction or elimination of bases in Germany and Italy, thus significantly shifting the pressure on Moscow. The current rotational presence is, in a sense, a burden for the United States and does not give us all the benefits it should. So it is difficult to understand why we have not fought for a permanent presence all these years. The second option is energy security, which the Polish president also discussed with the Americans during his visit to Washington. Poland meets 20% of its gas demand through imports from the United States, but our infrastructure makes it possible to supply this gas to the whole of Central Europe as part of the Three Seas initiative. In this regard, Poland may have a very important role to play, not only for the Americans, but for Europe itself. All the more so, because in the energy context, even Brussels admits that the West is in a sense mediating in Russia's invasion of Ukraine.
Not only has Putin weaponized energy against us, blackmailed member states, we are actually also indirectly helping finance Putin's war, and that needs to stop. And if President Trump agrees to that, then that is only a welcome support, because that is certainly our main objective.
With a raw materials partner in Europe, the Americans will not only profit from cooperation, but will also have an interest in protecting it. If this leads to the creation of a counterweight to the New Order in the Far East, in the new American doctrine, our region has a chance to become a strategic area of interest for the United States, which will be tantamount to opening an American protective umbrella over it.
GSP in position, north side.
A daring operation by U.S. immigration authorities in Elabelle, Georgia. Agents arrested 475 employees of a Hyundai car battery factory. All of them are South Korean citizens. All of them were in the U.S. illegally, and all of them will be deported.
Illegal aliens, some not the best of people, but we had a lot of illegal aliens working there. So, look, they're doing their job. That's what they have to do. These are people that came through with Biden. They came through illegally. They came into our country, so we have to do our job.
President Donald Trump is fulfilling the promises he made to voters. Immigrant gangs terrorizing residents are disappearing from the streets of American cities, and the most dangerous criminals are being deported to their countries of origin. Some of them end up in prisons with harsh conditions, such as here in El Salvador, at the Guantanamo military base in Cuba, or at the Alligator Alcatraz Center in Florida, where illegal immigrants are surrounded by swamps filled with pythons and alligators. Lawbreakers are also facing a newly opened prison in Louisiana.
It's a message that these individuals that are going to be here, that are illegal criminals, need to understand, is that if you come into this country and you victimize someone, if you take away their child forever, if you traffic drugs and kill our next generation of Americans, and if you traffic our children and men and women, absolutely there's consequences. You're going to end up here.
Americans finally feel like they are regaining control of their own country after the Democrats' migration madness, which allowed millions of illegal immigrants to enter the country unchecked. Now that the Republicans have taken full control, peace and order are returning to the streets of cities and towns.
Good job closing the border, and I think that he is on the right track trying to round up these criminals that are in the country illegally and deporting them. And that's the biggest thing. I think his biggest success is on immigration up to this point.
The new American administration is restoring security to its citizens.
I have friends too who are in the country without status, but they're good people and they're hardworking people, and that's what we want. We don't want terrorists coming into our country. We don't want child predators and rapists and bad people, people who are DUI for the 4th time. What is that? That's not right.
In Republican-ruled America, it is the services that deal with illegal immigrants. In liberal-ruled Western European countries, it is illegal migrants who impose their own rules. Not a single day goes by without new reports of crimes committed by immigrant communities. Yesterday, the French media reported that almost half of all cases of sexual abuse of minors take place in the department of Saint-Denis, known for having the highest percentage of immigrants in France. Women in particular feel less and less safe, especially in public places. In Marseille, a Tunisian man armed with a knife wounded 5 people before being shot by police, while in Vienna, an immigrant from Afghanistan brutally raped a 17-year-old girl. And in Montauban, France, an immigrant from Morocco broke into the home of a 26-year-old woman and raped her. The woman escaped death by fleeing the apartment and hiding behind garbage containers. These are just examples from this week. And worst of all, left-wing liberal governments treat immigrant criminals leniently, such as the one from the Middle East who raped a pregnant woman in Glasgow, Scotland. The rape was so brutal that it caused the woman to hemorrhage. A few days after the rape, the woman miscarried. Yes, this immigrant raped a pregnant woman. This immigrant rapist received a ridiculous 12 months in prison for this brutal rape. Yes, in 12 months, this brutal immigrant rapist will be free, while his victim lost her child. Left-wing liberal politicians justify such crimes with shocking research. Scientists from the University of Leicester, paid by the politicians, have determined, among other things, that, and I quote, the English countryside is too white and needs cultural diversity. And the people, they pay the highest price for political correctness. Unfortunately, with the consent of the December 13th coalition, dangerous immigrants smuggled by the German services are also coming to Poland, and in the middle of next year, the Migration Pact will come into force. The standards of Germany and France, the policy of Herzlich Willkommen, which, whatever one may say, was also pushed by Donald Tusk when he was head of the European Council, is now also prevailing in Poland. This is clearly evident in the actions of Donald Tusk's government, which did not block the Migration Pact and is not taking decisive action to deport illegal migrants. The migration madness, previously known mainly in Western Europe, is already beginning in Poland because the ruling coalition is diligently following orders from Brussels and Berlin.